All right, here is a pretty high stakes battle of the big caps. We are comparing and really putting head to head Sui with Solana. Two of our favorites, two projects that we talk about in this channel. Both of them represent, I would say, the best of the 2021 and now the 2025 crypto bull cycle. And we're going to, like I said, compare them directly, find out who the true crypto king among them really is. And of course, both of these blockchains are very secure, very fast, very low transaction fees, but we want to really dig deep and analyze and get into the weeds here. Which one has the better chance to explode on a massive run later this year? Is Solana going to be able to replicate its 2021 run, or is Sui now the Solana of this particular cycle? Welcome to the channel. My name is Maddie and this is Altcoin Buzz. All the best of luck if you choose to invest. Sui, Sol, otherwise, I genuinely wish you well. But I am not a financial or investment advisor, nor is this video official financial or investment advice. Solana, of course, was the darling of the 2021 bull cycle. And then between 2021 and 2022, Sol jumped from about $1.50 to $260. So we're talking about a 173 times multiple. Everybody liked Solana for a lot of reasons, but certainly the massive gains didn't hurt. And for the new kid on the block, certainly a pretty auspicious start. Since, if you think about it actually, and people forget about this, but Solana only launched in 2020. And here we find ourselves now, the world keeps spinning. We're in another bull run in 2025, and Solana is a very well-respected layer one chain with just a gigantic ecosystem. Very, very respectable as well. It also takes 6th spot, by the way, as measured by market cap. So it's maintained a lot of that growth that it enjoyed. And kind of between, I'd say, the bull run that we're kicking off now and the last one, we also had an unbelievable comeback story. And Solana reinvented itself, really resurrected itself after that whole mess with FTX. Solana also managed very impressively to improve on one of its major weak points, namely chain halts, because since October 2022, the chain has only halted twice. And that used to be quite a different story. So kudos to them. It's a major improvement. And this really is a big deal, especially since Solana is now in the crosshairs of institutions. So for example, Solana already had a staking ETF since early July. On its first day, it generated a volume of $33 million, which is very good for context. Also, there are various Solana spot ETFs in the making. Furthermore, there are various firms that are considering, or perhaps even already have, a SOL treasury. Another recent and massive new feature was the introduction of X stocks on Solana, which just basically allows you to trade tokenized stocks, but it's 24/7 on Solana DeFi platforms. That means there's no intermediaries, no middlemen to take a cut of the action. It's much more efficient, much more accessible. This also gives a massive boost to RWAs, real-world assets on Solana, which are up 140% year to date. That's not only X stocks or tokenized equities, but also tokenized treasuries. And here we're talking Ondo, BlackRock, Franklin Templeton as well. There's also private credit offered by Apollo, Maple, and Credix, plus physical assets and commodities. You can find these on MetaWealth, Collector Crypt, or Baxis. Now, there is also the element of meme coins on Solana. I'm not into meme coins. I'm not a fan of them. I'm kind of anti-meme coin, I guess you could say. But this is a hotspot as far as an ecosystem for this, if it's your thing. There's also the recent launch of the Pump token by Pump.fund. That's PUMP. Solana is just irrefutably the king of meme coins. That's regardless of whether you like them or not. So there is, objectively speaking, stiff competition going on between Let's Bonk and Pump Fun. We have a recent opinion that we put out about the ICO. I think we were proven right. Check out that video if you haven't already. You can also check out our recent article here on altcoinbuzz.io. So I think it's fair to say that there's a lot going on at Solana. There's kind of something for everybody. It also has a leading role in DeFi, decentralized finance, and a massive NFT sector. So that was the case for Solana and the SOL token, SOL. Let's now switch gears and talk about Sui. Let's get in the pro camp for Sui. I'm going to show you what's going on in terms of this project. There is quite a bit. However, first, you probably want to check out the recent Sui ecosystem video that we put out because that was just a couple of days ago. It's all fresh. It certainly applies to this conversation. But as far as the pro arguments for Sui over Solana, And kind of in line with that video that I just alluded to, it's probably fair to start with Sui's DeFi. Keep in mind that Sui did not launch until about 2 years ago. Nevertheless, that being said, it still ranks 8th in TVL, total value locked, out of all chains. For context, that means it's even outperforming Hyperliquid. Bluefin is one of the stronger platforms here. It's the leading perps exchange on Sui and comes in the 4th spot with TVL. It comes in at number 4 in TVL at just below $200 million. Now, BTC is also something that has to be discussed. That's a big thing on Sui. And really, this is all about making your BTC work for you. And as we covered recently, Bluefin launched TBTC on its platform. SuiLend is a lending and borrowing protocol. This is another one to keep an eye out for. And by the way, even when Bitcoin did a 4 or 5% pullback after yesterday's new all-time high, we have Lend, L-E-N-D, which is still positive on the day. It's still up. And then we have Momentum. This is very much the up-and-coming DeFi platform on Sui. If you're interested in airdrops, make sure to use this protocol. It's something that you're going to want to get familiar with. Walrus is another key platform in the Sui ecosystem. This is very much the future of digital storage. And I am not the only one who thinks so. Grayscale recently did a deep dive into Sui, and it highlighted Walrus in its report. Grayscale, of course, is an American digital currency asset management company. And the report highlighted that Walrus is up to 80% cheaper when compared to its competitors. Not only that, but we also have a second airdrop which is lined up, which is imminent for Walrus. And on a different note, Sui has surpassed the 12-month gains of Bitcoin, gold, the S&P 500, QQQ, and Coinbase. There's also a nonstop new user base onboarding. Sui has now well over 230 million accounts. Sui really just keeps hitting other all-time highs in various other metrics, besides price of its token. But important ones, fundamental metrics that reflect the strength and the quality of the project, its growth as well. So a couple of examples here in TVL, stablecoin market cap, and token volume. Sui and its ecosystem are just on fire right now. And during Bitcoin's recent run, we saw Sui, its ecosystem, and a lot of the tokens in that ecosystem, which did very well. Many of those were up double digits. Sui has a lot of activity right now. So for example, developer activity is increasing. They keep building. Another sector where to keep a finger on the pulse is gaming in particular. Olympian Games, they just joined the ecosystem, and the big news that we've covered before, but I should remind everybody, is the shipping of the Sui Play 0x1. That's happening pretty soon, really in just a couple of months in September. This Altcoin Buzz Spotlight video is sponsored by Walrus Protocol, which has the fastest solution for data storage on the market today. It's from the team behind Sui. And their token and airdrop were a huge success. Walrus is already a top 150 coin. In fact, it's so resilient that even with only a few nodes operating, your data availability will not be affected. Decentralized data storage on Walrus is solving the big problem of data availability and integrity. And this is especially important for AI models and their data sets. Decentralized AI solutions are important to many of us in the industry and many of you as well. And really the last thing that we'd want to see is having to give up our data for free again, like we did with social media and a lot of the big Web 2 companies. But AI models are big, huge databases that need training on one end and specialized limited access on the consumer end. Walrus was built exactly for this. Its specialty in large pieces of unstructured data means storing models to train to your liking on your private data is easier and cheaper than ever before. And Seal helps you control who accesses it. That means you can use Walrus to create an AI app to sell to others with the user permissions and controls you need. So try Walrus today. Whether you need it to store an NFT or an entire AI model, you get the same smooth, fast, and cheap storage service. Follow Walrus on X for more updates and check out the link in the description below. Now we have to get down into the nitty-gritty in terms of who the winner is of this battle of the big caps. Look, here we see two fundamentally strong Layer 1 chains with good and strong and growing ecosystems. We like them both. In terms of Solana and SOL, this is certainly the more established chain. It's a bigger ecosystem. It also has a huge and very active, to their credit, developer and user community. Due to its history, it also has deep liquidity and a proven track record. It's got strong roots in DeFi, of course, and NFT, those two sectors, with a new angle into ETFs, which does look very promising. So Solana is more of, I would call it a stable and a lower risk play here, a safer bet, so to speak. However, I don't personally expect Solana to do another 170 something X, a big multiple like that. It's not going to happen. If we look at the market cap here, we're at $86.7 billion. So that's just not realistic. We're slightly down on the day at $161. I think if we do about a 3 or a 4X, we get to the $500-$600 range, possibly the $800 range at the top for Sol. That's very solid. So more like actually a 4 or a 5X from here. From the current price where we are, I think that is more reasonable given the size of this project. The one thing I don't like about Sol, and I've pointed this out pretty much every time we talk about it, is its unlimited supply. Not necessarily a deal breaker for everybody, but never a strong point in terms of a project's tokenomics. With Sui, we have a younger chain and a younger project, of course. I would say that Sui is more innovative, though. So, for example, with its object-centric architecture. However, because it's newer, it also has less liquidity. And although, with all due respect, that's building fast. And for reference, during Bitcoin's recent uptick, the Sui ecosystem easily outpaced the Solana ecosystem in terms of the quick growth that we saw. However, the regular SUI token unlocks are a weak point. But that being said, the market does seem to absorb them pretty well. So here we are now at really just a hair under $4, $3.99. I'd say we're still in a good zone here in terms of buying SUI. The minimum top I personally expect is around $15 for Sui. That's a good 4X from here. And by contrast to Solana, as you can see, yes, it's still a sizable market cap at $13.8 billion, but in a relative sense, much smaller than Solana's. About a fifth or a sixth of the Sol market cap. And like I talked about earlier, the Grayscale report shows that SUI is one of the best performing assets during the last year. It has a 206% lead on Solana in terms of growth. So again, it kind of comes down to your profile. For the short term, Sol is the safer bet, but it has a lot less upside potential as compared to Sui. For the long term, I can see Sui closing the gap. However, it needs to keep performing as it has been. It needs to be consistent here. Sui's innovation could be a key factor here in terms of that potential and hopeful success. So, that being said, I kind of come down on the side of Sui here, SUI, but let me know your take. Both of these are, I guess, giants. Certainly they're big caps, right? Even Sui is very, very sizable. Let me know which project you think will fare better by the end of the year and beyond. Think ahead possibly to the next bull cycle. Let me know in the comments below, and also be sure to join our discussion on social media, on X and on Discord. You can always find those links in the description below.